Thank you, Evan, for that introduction. And I'd like to start by acknowledging you for creating space for all of us to come together and connect. We were speaking earlier in Fort Lauderdale. When we say community, Evan Snow is the first name that pops up, and your efforts and your contributions are felt in our community. So thank you for creating this platform for us to come and share our stories and connect. Thank you. Thank you to everyone else for being here this morning. You could be anywhere else bright and early on Friday, but you're here. Thank you for being here. So I'm Ezgi. I have a fitness background, but actually today's talk is going to be about creativity. When Evan invited me to speak here, I thought, what is the grand idea of my life? I've had all these events, but what is the string leading up? What's the general idea? What's my general contribution that other people can benefit from? So when I zoom out from all the little events and the championships and the fitness, it turns into my story of how I discovered creativity, how I connected to my creativity, and then eventually it turned into my business. So today I will go into detail about that entire process. Okay, so what is creativity? When asked that question, anyone? Like, what comes to your mind when you think about creativity? Creating, yes. Innovation, yes. Imagination, yes. Playfulness. Creativity, according to the dictionary, is the use of the imagination or original ideas, especially in the production of artistic work. Now, artistic work can be anything. It can be business related, it can be art like we're seeing all around us. It can be an idea that sparks provoking thought. It can be anything. So it's the ability to use our imagination to create something that previously wasn't there. And if you think about it, we're creating every second of our lives just by our mere existence. There's not another person on this planet that is you. We are the only ones that is us. So every second of our lives, we're actually creating just by being who we are. Albert Einstein said creativity is seeing what others see and thinking what no one else ever thought. So the story of how I learned to access my creativity actually started when I asked the question, how do we kill creativity? When I think back to what caused me to disconnect from my creativity so much that I went on the journey to find and access my creativity. So we're actually gonna go to my childhood. It's where it all starts, right? It's where it all begins. So when I was a little girl, as Evan said, I'm Turkish. My family is not religious at all. My father was an atheist. Yet he's an engineer, so very, very logical, very logical. So he told me when I was a little girl that there are 3 respectable careers in the world. He said you can be a doctor, a lawyer, or an architect. And me, being little Ezgi, I said, okay, got it. So program number 1, limitation, extreme limitation. I went to school growing up. I was in Turkey. Then we moved to the United States. That was a total game changer because all of a sudden, culture shock. I didn't speak English, so now I'm learning English. I'm absorbing the American lifestyle as a little girl. So my horizons suddenly expanded. But I still remembered I can only be one of 3 things. So getting older, I went to school for architecture. I thought, how can I be most creative but still be one of those respectable things? And architecture was my clear answer. In school is where I met my husband, so I'm so grateful. it was 6 years, for me, it was 6 years of struggle, architecture school. It was creative, but it was also very restrictive. It was very structured. So I found myself trying to access creativity, but also being very limited at the same time. And I remember my professor telling me, Mr. Noriega, I'll never forget, he was one of my favorite professors, and he said, Ezgi, you're very talented, but if you don't want this, why put up with this? If you don't want to become an architect, if you're not truly going to embrace this, why go through the process? You can quit now. But I'm not a quitter. So that's what I learned in school. I learned no matter what happens, if I commit to something, I can finish what I started. So as soon as I finished what I started and we graduated and we got our diplomas, I said, I'm done. I'm done, I'm checking out. But no, it took me 3 more years. So for 3 more years, I was an architectural designer. And with every year that passed, I realized I was less and less inspired by the life that I had built. I was going to work every day, doing the 9 to 5. Back then it was more like 8 to 8. Working overtime, young architect, not getting nearly paid enough. And I thought, what is the point of my life? What is the point? Am I gonna do this for 50, 60 more years? Because I'd rather not. And that's when I hit a wall. And that's when I discovered personal development trainings. That's when I got curious, which is the first step of creativity. So in the process of where the creativity was killed, it started with limitation, lack of freedom, expectation. So having expectations of what to become. Perfectionism was a big part of it. The need to be perfect often limits us from creativity. Fear of failure. Most of us don't go for our dreams because we're simply afraid that we might not have the outcome. Routine and repetition. Our lives are routine and repetitive, but the most creative moments happen when we step outside of our routines. Stress and pressure, negative feedback, criticism, and for me, most importantly, negative self-talk. Our negative self-talk will often limit us in so many ways, and it will keep us stuck. So all those ways my creativity had been killed, I hit the wall, and then I said, let me look at my life and what I want to do. So curiosity and self-discovery was the first step of my breaking free from the mold that I had been grown into. One of my dearest friends, back then she was an acquaintance, she became one of my dearest friends, Liz Haber. She used to be a trainer at some trainings, and we had no idea what it was. We had no idea what she did, but she would always tell me, hey, come to this training. And I would say, what is it? And she would say, well, self-growth, personal development. And I was like, none of those things mean anything to me, so I don't know what you're talking about. Until I hit that wall. And I had nothing to lose. And I said, okay, let me go see what training she's talking about. Curiosity. I went, and my life completely changed. I couldn't even specifically tell you what it was or what happened, but it was like looking in the mirror and seeing my true self for the first time. That was the feeling after that weekend of training. And there was a second part, which was 5 days. I did the 5 days. And that was like not looking in the mirror, but it was like cracking myself open and seeing everything, seeing my inside, seeing my soul. And then there was a part 3, which was a 3-month-long program, and I went. And in part 3, I had all these revelations coming in. It was like downloads. It was like intuition. I had all these new desires and goals I wanted to set. Like I was just excited. I was excited. And one of my greatest excitements was about fitness. I remembered as a little girl, I always wanted six-pack abs. I always wanted six-pack abs, and I never got them. And now I was 26. And I'm thinking, this is what I want. It's what I want. And I was like, why do I want this? And I don't know, but I want six-pack abs, and I want to do fitness competitions. And it made no sense, because I could be one of three things. So, and I had already become the architect. So now for me to question everything and then rebuild everything and do it in a public way, confront my parents, confront my father, that was a big challenge. Play and spontaneity. So I said, all right, let me play with this idea. What if I did say I was going to do a fitness competition? What if I did dare to say I wanted six-pack abs? Let me play with the idea. And then once I knew that this was my calling and I really wanted this and I didn't know why, but it didn't matter at that point, I said, all right, let me focus and commit to this. Now, focus and commitment takes our creativity and our play to a whole new level, because now we're playing at a new level. Now we're saying, I really like this, I really enjoy this, I really want this, and I'm committing to this. The second I said that, the universe provided me with a support group. In this training, we had small groups, like accountability partners, where we would come together and we would support each other on our goals. So when I said I want to do a fitness competition, there were 4 people in our small group. Would you believe one of them was Mr. America 1970 bodybuilding competition? And he said, what? And he took me under his wing. For the next 6 months, he trained me twice a day. Nutrition, bodybuilding, training. We went to the depths of the world of fitness. And I had a huge transformation in 6 months. But the thing about commitment is, if we don't know why we're doing it, it's very easy to give up on our commitment. So during those 6 months, we would go to the gym. In the mornings, we would do sunrise HIIT training. Greatest way to lose fat, sprinting. And if you've never done, I thought I knew what sprinting was. I was like, of course I've sprinted. I was a child, I've sprinted, I run. No. Sprinting is when you're running with all of your might and all of your energy as if a dinosaur is running right behind you and about to eat your head. So sprinting for 15 seconds is so much work that on the 16th second, you're so glad that it's over. Like, that's sprinting. So my morning training was waking up at sunrise, going to the beach, and sprint training. So I would do 8 sessions of sprinting for 15 seconds and walking for 45 seconds. Incredible fat burner, side note. And then in the evenings, we would go to the gym, and it was bodybuilding, which I used to think that to tone the body, we had to do repetitions and eat yogurts and fruits. And then I found out it was high protein, heavy weight. So for 6 months, my husband will remember, I would wake up and I would encourage him to eat lots of eggs. It was like 3 eggs with a cup of egg whites, vegetables. Our meals were just chicken and vegetables over and over. So then by like month 2, I was like, oh, I don't know if I still want this. I don't know. I thought I wanted it, but I'm not sure anymore. So then my trainer, my coach, and my support group would say, why? Why did you want this to begin with? What is it that spoke to your soul in the very, very beginning that you couldn't connect the dots? And I said, well, I want to inspire women in the Middle East. I want to inspire my sisters, my aunts. I want them to know they can do anything. And if I can do this, if I can get on stage with a ripped body and six-pack abs and be in a bikini, which is very controversial coming from Turkey, I said, if I can pull that off, then we can pull off anything. That was the message. So when we would go to the gym and my trainer would encourage me, one more rep, and I would literally have tears coming out of my eyes and I couldn't do one more rep, he would say, why are you doing this? And it would suddenly remind me, it's not about me. It's about the woman in the Middle East, women in the world. And I would get 10 times stronger in that instant. The why that makes you cry. Knowing that is an incredible superpower. It's like flicking a switch. So then for 6 months I trained. And for 6 months I remembered my why when it got tough, and I kept training. My support group, the entire time, everyone from the training center, once I became vocal about my dream, which was another really tough thing to do because fear of failure. But once I became vocal, everyone started supporting me. They said, you can do this, it makes a big difference. And I didn't know if I could do it. But then in 6 months later, I competed in Fitness Universe, Florida. And to my surprise, I won first place. And when that happened, that changed everything. Because all of a sudden, everyone that had been watching my journey wanted to become my clients. And I was still architecting. I was 1 foot in to freedom and 1 foot out. I was still trying to be the respectable architect. By the way, I'm super cool and I can follow my dreams and passions, but I'm also a very straight arrow. So I resisted the attention and the support people wanted from me. They wanted to learn how could they do what I had done. And I said back then, I'm an architect, this is my hobby, good luck. Fast forward a few years later, very unfulfilled. I now know my dream, my passion. I have people come to me still asking for help, but I was now starting to say yes. I was now starting to transition into, you know what? Yes, let me support you with what I know, with what I've learned. So then it started to become a business. Number one thing, how do we access creativity, overcoming self-doubt? One of my dearest friends calls this the itty-bitty shitty committee in our heads. They will always be there. It's incredible. But as we stay committed to our dream, they get less and less powerful. Today, I have built a business and I have helped a few hundred women to achieve their fitness goals. Yet, I'm still very well aware that my itty-bitty shitty committee is in the background, ready to attack if and when they can, if I give them the opportunity. So throughout this entire process, it's been learning how to manage that committee so that they don't drive my life. And I can go where I want to go, regardless of what they say. Sharing made a very big difference. So sharing my journey every step of the way, it helped to build community. It helped to inspire people. It helped to make a difference. And it wasn't the fact that I won the competition that brought people to me. It was the fact that I shared. It was the fact that they could relate. It was the fact that I shared all the days it was hard, and I did it regardless. It was the sharing of the journey where people understood my story and they related to my story. And then community. So community is actually the number one reason why people live long lives. It's not exercise, it's not fitness. Community is the number one reason that gives us extra life, because we are so much stronger when we're connected. We thrive in community. So having community and building community is what has made the greatest difference. And it's become the reason why I now talk about my story and why I come to events like this, to continue to expand community and to connect. So the creative journey, if I were to summarize it, happened in 9 steps. First, it was curiosity, having the courage to be curious. Second, it was revelations, playing spontaneity. This is where I wanted the 6-pack abs and I just wanted to go for it. Focusing and committing was saying, I'm going to do the competition. Finding your why was, I want to do this to empower myself and to empower women. Having a support group, taking massive action, overcoming the itty bitty shitty committee, sharing journey, sharing results, no matter the outcome. No matter the outcome. My story is powerful, but it would have been just as powerful if I had come in last place at the competition. It's the journey, exactly. And I remember every time I would post something on social media, because my body was transforming throughout those 6 months, and I would post the transformation. I remember every time I would post, I'd be sweating cold sweats, because I knew I would get a ton of phone calls from family in Turkey saying, what the fuck are you doing? Cold sweats. And I did it regardless, because it was about freedom. That was the point. It was about freedom. And then community. My community that has been building throughout the years is my greatest asset. They are the ones I fall back on if and when my itty bitty shitty committee starts to get loud. My community is the reason why I keep doing what I'm doing. There are 2 parts to this. There's the building the business. So quickly, I'll talk about how I monetized what came out of all of this. So you knew I was still architecting. I wasn't happy. As I shared my journey, that created a pull in my circle. Now people knew what I liked. Now people knew what I was up to. And now people knew what I started to become an expert in. So they started coming to me for knowledge, advice, expertise. Then logistics came into play. If I said, yes, I will train you, now I had to figure out how. I had to figure out, where's the link for them to sign up? Where is my website? Now, I've come to realize that the logistics is usually where people stop, because it starts to get difficult and stressful, but there's so many ways now we can build a business easily by hiring people online. It might seem convenient to hire locally, and it will be empowering to hire locally. But if in the beginning you don't have the budget to hire local firms, you can always go to different websites. I use Fiverr. There's Upwork, where you can hire people all over the world to build the logistics of what you need done, to build the website, to build the CRM, to build all these different logistical things that you need for the business to work. Build it and they will come. And once again, the itty bitty, it's like, it's always going to be there. So just acknowledge it.
It's called imposter syndrome.
Yes, imposter syndrome. Just acknowledge it. And courage is when you do it regardless. And building the system to grow. So what I built, it's been 3 years now, when I said, okay, I am finally going to step into the coach and the trainer that I am. And I launched She Rise, which is actually a woman empowerment firm. It's a women empowerment community where I teach about strength training. Every morning we meet for 20 minutes. This is for a busy woman. 20 minutes, we train together. Strength training, we meditate together. And then once a week, we meet for an hour and we talk about self-mastery, personal growth, goals, achievements, how to dissect your mind and your dreams and go for them. So it started as a fitness company and then it grew into a women empowerment company. My why always comes back. It finds a way to come back and it fuels the dream and my soul passion. So then it turned into the business that it is today. I'm happy to say full-time, no more architecting, no more 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Thank you. And that's been my journey.